Comic Book Savant, episode 345.
I know this. This I know. All that I have, all that is me, resides inside my poetry. And every time I write a rhyme, it might be the line that sets mine free. And also, I know that I don't...
Welcome to the Comic Book Savant podcast. I'm your host, James Harris. This week, I'm doing a follow-up, because you guys seem to really like it, of Cutting My Stack episode where I focused totally on some of the DC Rebirth titles. So since the last time I did that episode, I've picked up a few more issues and tried those out, and I'm going to, do a review on those comics and let you know my thoughts and what I'm feeling overall so far about DC Rebirth. So before we get into that, as always, I'd like to give a shout out to my friends over at the Comics Podcast Network. You can find them over at comicspodcast.com. It's just a great resource if you like the content that you found here, just as far as cool comic book related podcasts. It's a one-stop shop for you to find a lot of great podcasts out there. You'll find the podcast related to a particular publisher, teams, particular character, or an all-around show like this show, a single person podcast, a roundtable podcast. It's just so many out there now, so it's a good place to go when you're wanting to explore more in the comic book podcast genre to kind of take your pick and sample a lot of different stuff. So if you have a moment, definitely stop by the Comics Podcast Network over at comicspodcast.com. And last but not least, I'd like to give a shout out to our sponsor, which is InStockTrades.com. Just a great site for when you're trying to buy your collected editions, trades, anything of that nature. I mean, they have everything from Omnibus, the Marvel Masterworks, Absolute Editions, oversized trade paperbacks, you name it, they have it. They have some of the lowest prices you're going to find on the internet, just across the board when it comes to saving on making those bulk purchases. If you're unfamiliar with InStockTrades.com, they have discounts going from $35, $42, and up to 50% off. They have on their homepage, they update it weekly, so always check out the site where they have the deals of the week. They're expanding it now. Normally, it used to be when they first started doing the deals of the week, they would only have about 5 books. I've been seeing more recently, they've been upgrading, and it's been more like 5, 10, 12. So it varies from week to week that you'll find some great deals where you can get them 50% off. So, snatch them up while you can, because it's great savings. If you're a U.S. customer, any orders $50 or more, you get free shipping within the U.S. That's only for U.S. customers. But if you happen to listen to the show and you're international, it doesn't limit you. You get all the great savings, but you just would have to pay for your shipping. And they have some of the most reasonable international shipping rates around, so you won't lose out. You just don't get that extra little perk, but you still get all the great savings that they offer at InStockTrades.com. Which leads me into my next thing, which is the anniversary contest that I have going on. We're a week in. I haven't gotten a lot of entries yet. I don't know, am I asking too much to go here, to go there, to enter into the contest? So I'm going to just simplify it and do it this way, because I want, I worked hard to get this set up with InStockTrades.com, which is providing the giveaways for the anniversary contest. So all you have to do now, if you want to enter the contest, scrap the YouTube, subscribe, and follow me on Instagram. Like I said, I was trying to get you guys to see the content over at different places, but I might just be asking too much to enter into the contest, because I want, to give this stuff away to you guys. Is just go to comicbooksavant.com. Just go to the website, because you can get to all the other stuff through the website anyway, if that's something you want to check out. And just, if you click on the link for contact us, it'll take you to a form. You can just fill out the email there. Just make sure you reference the contest in the email, and because I can't remember. Actually, I'm saying it and I didn't check it out. So if you go to the contact link in the subject line, just put contest, and then I know that this is your entry for the contest. Just one per person, and like I said, we're going to all entries submitted by August 5th will go into the running. Just one per person, and again, it's the top 3, and it's going to be a $75 gift certificate to In-Stock Trades, a $50 gift certificate, and $25. So definitely. I want as many of you guys to enter as possible so I can give away those great prizes, and I appreciate, In-Stock Trades for providing that for us. So with all that being said, let's jump into the episode with the DC Rebirth. Just off the top, I've kind of been impressed a lot by DC Rebirth. I kind of gotten unenamored with all the reboots and resets that were going on, and I've kind of just been, as you've seen by the things I've covered on the show, I've gotten more and more away from current comics, and I've went back and revisited some older comics to bring to you guys' attention, and just picking and choosing different stuff that kind of felt right. But so far, in the titles that I've tried, a handful of titles that I've tried, and I'm following up this episode with some of the ones that I initially tried on the first episode, and I've really have had fun with it. I'm not too heavily invested, so I'm taking my time, in it. But it's been interesting, and it slowly have drawn me back into the DC Universe proper, which is, something I've kind of, for both companies, I've kind of been out of that loop for a while, for this, for the exception of a few select titles here and there, pretty much the larger scale, because it's just too much. It's too many events. It's this, like I said, it start being just, too much, and too much of an investment, financial investment, that try to keep current on every single thing that's happening in both major companies. And I just wanted to read good comics that, weren't constantly tearing everything up every couple of years. But the first title I'm going to talk about, I went back and I read Batman issue 2 and 3, written by Tom King, artwork done by David Finch, inking work done by Mark Bannon and Danny Mickey. Colorist is Jordi Belair, and lettering work done by John Workman. I'm really digging the Batman run by Tom King. I wasn't familiar with his work before this. If I remember correctly, he did the Grayson series. He co-wrote that. So I wasn't too familiar with him, but I do like his characterization on Batman. It's very introspective. It reminds me a lot of Rucka's writing on Punisher from a few years ago, where we're really getting into Batman's head and his thought process and seeing how his mind works as a detective, which we don't see as much, and he's dubbed the world's greatest detective. We don't see him detecting much. We've gotten so far away from that, so it's good to kind of be inside his head and how he flows, in working a case and determining these things. So it's, like I said, it's something we haven't seen as a take on Batman that's very true to the nature of the actual character. But we just over the years, we've gotten so far away from it. It's good to see it reeled back in some, that we see more superhero and less detective. So I'm glad King is putting the detective back in The Greatest Detective. I do love the creative team. When you have a great team like Snyder and Capullo do their, the historical run, dare I say, on Batman, to see the guy follow it up. He's already setting up his own niche. And with Finch, they have their own look, their own feel, and it still feels like a premiere book. Some certain times when you have one creative team go on a book and they have a really successful or popular run, and whoever follows it up, it feels like they spend most of their time trying to dig themselves out of the previous team's shadow. It doesn't seem like that. It seemed like Tom King knew exactly what he wanted to do with his run on Batman. He made a good pitch. They gave him the ball, and he's running with it. And, I don't feel any drop-off whatsoever in the transition at all. If anything, I feel like it's just more top-tier Batman. It still feels like a very premier top-tier DC title. And for the 2 issues I read, issue 2, I gave a good read rating to 7 out of 10. For issue 3, I gave it a good read, 8 out of 10. Like I said, it is no fall off for me whatsoever. Like I said, I've been very impressed with Tom King, and it makes me want to go look at some of his previous writings from there. Next book that I covered was Nightwing. I think the previous episode I did the issue 0 of Nightwing. I got a chance to go through issues 1, 2, and 3. I have, and I preface this because I'm a huge Nightwing fan. The character, I feel as a whole, has been kind of on a downward spiral just from mismanagement by DC in general. He should be one of their stalwart characters, and I just feel like they've mismanaged the character so much. So I don't blame anything on the creative team on the book. I blame the publisher and editorial more so than anything else, because I feel like they're retreading a lot of stuff that was already established when the character was, in his heyday. They're kind of just rehashing it now. But, again, I don't, let's see. I don't think this is a bad book at all. I think Tom Seeley, is a capable writer. I just feel like the overall stature of Nightwing as a crime fighter has been diminished so significantly just over the years, and the things that they've done when they exposed his secret identity and the whole Grayson series, which I think I might have read the first issue of, and it just didn't grab me at all. I just didn't like the direction of the character and the rendition that they've taken the character. I feel like I like what Tim Seeley's trying to do as far as the tale in these first 3 issues. I kind of like the direction that the story is going, but I'm not a big fan on how the character is being handled, because they just, so much is being taken away from the experience that Nightwing has, and it seems like he's constantly searching for approval from Batman, from Batgirl, even what's the character in this, Raptor, I think it is. He's searching for approval, and I'm like, why? He was the first sidekick in the DC universe. He's been Robin, he's been Nightwing, he's been Batman, he's been Nightwing. You know what I mean? It's like he's a peer of Superman. The name Nightwing came from Superman. How close he was to these heroes, and they accepted him as a peer. He earned that from being in the trenches with him for so long. Why does he need approval from anyone at this point? He's more than competent. He's proved it if you read his stories over the years. And I just feel like they don't get that, because they have him like please accept me for what I am. Am I making the right decision? Like, that's not Dick Grayson. He's more than competent. I don't get that. So that, to me, that means you don't know the history of the character, and you're writing a character that you truly don't know. But you're writing an interesting story. It probably would be even better if it was more fitting of a newer, younger character that was inexperienced compared to someone that is so experienced. But I just don't like the feel of it. and it feels so much like a retread of the 90s and early 2000s Chuck Dixon and Scott McDaniel's run on Nightwing, where he was just getting out on his own, and he was looking for that acceptance from Batman to be like, am I making the right choices? And it just feels like it's rehashing that, even to the point where I saw solicits for later issues that I'm not to yet. They're even taking them back to Bloodhaven, and I'm like, all that is redoing what they did 15 years ago. They destroyed Bloodhaven for no reason whatsoever. Now you're bringing it back, and he's going to get a start in Bloodhaven all over again. You've done that. That's been done. Like, do something. Take this character in a different direction that it lines up, that doesn't totally negates his previous history just to retread it now. And if I'm a fan, then I'm supposed to ignore that history didn't happen. It never made sense that they blew up Bloodhaven to begin with. They just did it. Just like there was no reason for them to expose his secret identity, but they did it. None of those choices they made any sense whatsoever. So, try to make the best out of a bad situation in general. Like I said, it's a decent book. It's not anything that's on the top of my stack because, again, I feel like a lot of it is being just not a good characterization of the character, and B, retreading on previously done work. Issue 1, I gave Waiting for the Trade grade a 6 out of 10. The second issue, I gave a good read a 7 out of 10. And the third issue, I gave a good read as well, 7.5 out of 10. So like I said, it's a solid book, but again, I just think this would be more effective if this was a newer character that didn't, have the experience. Everything's not lining up properly, but it's a decent work from the creative team on the book. Again, me being a huge fan of the character, I'll check it out in spots. But again, it's not anything top of the stack I got to stay current with. Every month when it comes out, but I'll buy it in batches, or if it's on sale, I'll pick up on some back issues and read it. But I'm not in love with it because I just feel like that what I'm reading is not the Nightwing that I know, that I've learned to know up until this point. And like I said, I just feel like DC as a publisher took some major missteps with this character, and it seems like now they're trying to fix what they did in the past, and it just comes off as total retreading instead of just finding other creative ways to take the character, because what's in the past is in the past. Take them in a newer, more vibrant direction, not retread. I mean, even bringing back Blockbuster, my God, I'm like, wow, they're just like redoing everything. If you want to, it's like I could recommend to you more strongly to go pick up the old 90s and 2000s Nightwing run, and if you read that I almost said a bad word. If you read those issues, you would be like, wow, like it would shock you because it's so much of a retread. It's like that blatant of a retread. But anyway, I digress. On to the next book. I got the next issue of Detective Comics because I know I reviewed a couple the first episode that I did for the DC Rebirth. Written by James Tynion IV. Artwork done by Javier Martinez. The inker is Raul Fernandez. Colorist is Brad Anderson and Ardiano Lucas. Letterer is Marilyn Perizio. I really like this book. James Tynion has a really, really good handle on these characters, and it's good. It's like I've been dying for like a Bat Team book, and you have it here, and it works just so well. He's just a very engrossing storyteller, and it's hard now between him, Tom King, Scott Snyder. Like, this is just the awesome era right now going on of DC Comics and the Batman titles across the board with the writers that they have on these books. I don't know much about Javier Martinez, but he's putting down some good good artwork in these. He reminds me a lot of Jesus Saez from about 10 years ago, that he was on a lot of upstart books over at DC, and he just always delivered. He did like Manhunter, he did Checkmate. He was just all over the place in the DC universe doing books, and this was always doing just really, really strong artwork. He didn't get much of a name built up for himself, but he always did. You knew his artwork when you saw it, and you knew it was quality. He never had any days off or any pages off. It was always just like at a certain quality, just like one of those guys in the trenches that just was, to me, never appreciated as much as he should have been. And I think he's still around. I think he did some stuff over at Marvel, the last things that I've seen with him, but Martinez's art style reminds me a lot of him. I gave this issue, it was Detective Comics 936. I gave it a must read, 9.5 out of 10. Just really, really great story. Next book I want to talk about is Wonder Woman. I read issue 2 of Wonder Woman. This is written by Greg Rucka, artwork done by Nicola Scott. Colorist is, I hope I pronounced this correctly, Romulo Fajardo Jr., and lettering done by Jody Wynn. I'm really enjoying this. It's a very well written and drawn story, by 2 of the top creators in the business. Nicola, Scott has been around. We know how much I love Greg Rucka as a writer. They just, just some of the best in the business, and they both just seem, and I think their love for the character just shines through the work and the story. It just all comes together, and I just feel like every time I see Nicola Scott's work on Wonder Woman, I just feel like she was just born to draw that character. I just think back in the days before when she was trying to break into the business, and Wizard Magazine was out, and she won like that fan contest, and she won based off, a drawing of Wonder Woman. And then years later, she legit worked for DC and drew the character. Her story is amazing when you go back and you look at it, and you just always see, like, you can tell by her pencils that she's always enthusiastic in drawing the character. Just like I said, just good storytelling. I like how they're doing the dual stories for this year one. I know this arc is finished up, and now a new creative team is on the book. So I know I'm far behind on all this stuff, but just really, really good. Then I also got a chance to check out issue 3, which is Greg Rucka with Liam Sharp, Laura Martin as the colorist, and Jody Wynn as the letterer on that book. And I really enjoyed this story. I gave the first issue 2 of the 2 that I got a chance to check out. I gave issue 2 an 8.5 out of 10, a good read rating. And for issue 3, I gave it a must buy. Like, I really enjoyed the character moments between Cheetah and Wonder Woman. He's just so great. Rucka is so great at writing characters, and just he excels at female characters. He made Cheetah a character I cared about just as much as Wonder Woman in that issue, in their interactions. Liam Sharp, I wasn't familiar with his work until they announced him on Wonder Woman, and I saw some of the covers and whatnot. But I enjoy his artwork. I like to see him do more stuff. More mainstream stuff, because like I said, I don't know his background, but it just really pops on the page, and it's a good contrast next to what we see with Nicola Scott. So it works very well in concert and contrast to one another. But so far, like I said, I've enjoyed Rebirth. It's a good entry point, especially if you've been away for a little bit, to slowly get back in. And like I said, I'm taking my time, with it. Again, I'm not investing a ton. A lot of times, since I'm mainly digital. When they do sales, I'll pick up a next set of issues. I'm not paying full price for them. I'm enjoying what I read for the most part when I'm reading them. Like I said, I have my issues with the Nightwing title, but that's the only issue. But it still has me intrigued enough to follow it loosely. And I just think, like, my problem with DC is I came in the 90s to the DC world. I was always a Marvel kid from the very beginning. But in my, my adult comic reading, I entered in the 90s, and Nightwing was my gateway into the larger DC universe. And it was like, it was Nightwing that I first started reading. Then I think I start reading Green Lantern, where at the time Kyle Rayner was Green Lantern. Then I start reading Flash, which Wally West was the Flash. And I feel like though at that point in time, DC was going through a lot, and they relied on these, the legacy of their characters and the heritage of the characters that we saw. Wally West was sidekick to Barry Allen, and he was at that point in time, he was the Flash. Dick Grayson was the first sidekick. He was breaking off on his own, establishing himself as Nightwing. We had, Hal had went, he had went crazy. He was Parallax. He had, killed off the Green Lanterns, and they had Kyle. And it's like they're still around in loose forms and reimagined forms, but they just totally sidelined or sidetracked those characters and not found new and innovative ways to grow them into characters into their own right or make them something anew. They're lacking in that, and I guess because that's the time of the era I came in with DC, I want to see more done with these characters and raise them to the same tier as the Wonder Womans and the Batmans, because they're just as important to the mythos of the DC universe. So I think that's my biggest issue with Nightwing and with some of these other characters. Why doesn't Kyle Rayner have his own comic? People kind of had a love-hate relationship with him, with Green Lantern. I didn't know anything of Hal till a lot later when I read I'm blanking. Jeff Johns' run on, I didn't know anything of Hal, because when I came in, Kyle was the Green Lantern. So I feel like if written correctly, if someone was passionate enough about him, he could be whatever. Ion, I mean, they did a thing where he's kind of Ion, White Lantern. They've done so many quirky things. He's still in and around, but spotlight him, build him up into something. We need new diverse heroes throughout both of these universes, and Marvel is doing it to a nauseating degree, but I feel like DC's not doing it enough. And they have the bones there. They have these characters that have been developed but just kind of left to the side and not built up more and strong. I feel like they could do things with these characters. And I think that's just the disappointing side for me when I look at DC Comics as a whole, because it was whole runs of these characters in these iconic roles that have now, the traditional Wally West that we knew as the Flash no longer exists now in DC Comics. Why is that? Why did they destroy everything that made Nightwing unique on its own just to rebuild it and rehash it now? Why doesn't Kyle Rayner has his own book? Where's the Green Arrow's son, Connor? He was a cool character. They took all that time to develop these characters, and they're like little to nowhere to be found now. And I would love to see more of it. I'd like to see these characters come back in a prominent way, but they're not at this point anyway. But that's all I have for you guys for this week. Like I said, check out the website. If you want to enter into the contest, just go to comicbooksavant.com. It's a link up at the top for contact. It's an email form. Just put in the header of the subject line of the email contest, 1 entry per person. Like I said, you got till August 5th, so there's plenty of time left. And then again, you're entering to win one of 3 gift certificates to InStockTrades.com, $75, $50, or $25. So definitely do that. If you haven't already, check out the YouTube channel. It is youtube.com Comic Book Savant. I'm putting new videos up there every week. So, essentially you're getting 2 pieces of, content from me a week now. You get the audio podcast and you get a YouTube video. So, I normally have the video episodes out by like Thursday in the week. So just subscribe, click the notification bell on there. If you go to YouTube, then it'll alert you as soon as a new episode hits. I might be doing more content there as well, shorter form. I'm trying to keep it relatively short, not too long. Just little tidbits. And I think I might start doing, as I'm getting more comfortable with video, I might be doing more than just one, video a week. I might be doing some other stuff because I'm really still into Injustice, and I'm playing other comic book related video games as well. So I might do a little bit of coverage on that as well on there. So you might see one, 2-3 little videos, but they'll be relatively short, 5 to 10 minutes in length. That might pop up more there because I am getting more comfortable with the format and learning how to edit and so forth. So definitely be on the lookout for that. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, also at Comic Book Savant. That's all I have for you guys this week, and I'll see you again next week with another episode of Comic Book Savant. You guys take care.
And into lyrical wholeness, and I know this, and I know this. This I know, this I know.